Hey all, I hope you guys are doing well. I am doing well. I am in North Carolina. I'm back from South Africa from phase 3. Still a little tired, but thought I should make this video because I posted this actually in my Facebook page, and a lot of people were very grateful that I posted these tips. So I'm going to talk about the starter pack for your village home project, for your village home journey. And so there's a lot of buzz out there. Everybody is reminded that we had something valuable, which is land, that we should be using for our own benefit, and should be grateful for the fact that we have inherited this beautiful inheritance. Please don't forget to check out my videos of my journey of building my home in South Africa, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe if you have not. But anyway, let's jump into it. So we're going to talk about what is it that you need to do, in which order you need to do these things. Okay, so as you guys already know, a lot of us are building in the villages, and as we are building in the villages, hold on, let me turn on the light so it's not so dark here. So as I was saying, a lot of us are building these homes from ancestral land. And what this means is you can go to your chief and go ask for land. Yes, you have to pay, like small token of appreciation for getting the land. You go to, to the people who are in charge of your village, and then they go to the chief and you get the land. So the first thing that you need to do is to select your site. Make sure that you keep a lot of things in mind. So depending on the land that's available in your village, you might be lucky enough to really choose a site that is north facing. If you are in the southern hemisphere, north facing, I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's your house that needs to be north facing, but the site itself, relatively flat, is good. But I would keep in mind things like the views of the sunset, the views of the sunrise. I have magnificent views of the sunrise. I have, like hills below me, and I have a valley below me and hills, and I can see the other villages across. Hopefully there will never be anyone below me, because there's a valley there which has a small creek as well. So hopefully there will be no one. So you want to keep all those things in mind, because they will come in handy when you're actually building your home. And remember, our homes in the village are a place for us to relax, so we have to keep that in mind, right? So that's the first thing that you need to do. Relatively flat is good, because it saves you a lot of money in the long run in terms of your building. You don't have to worry about platforms, you don't have to worry about basements, you don't have to worry about, like a lot of things. So always go for a flatter lot, okay? But if that is impossible for you to get a flat lot, get whatever flat that, that you can find. What's important is that you get the land, okay? So the second thing that you need to do once you secure your land is to buy and build a fence. Okay, so most of us, we use the fence that you've seen in my home, basically, which is galvanized steel fence. Okay, it's so important to buy galvanized. Build it, by the way, sells it. Cash build does not, which is interesting. But the most important thing about this fence is that it will take a while to rot, or to rust, which is a big thing in like most of us that we face, is that this fence like rusts, and then it doesn't not do the job because it's rusted, but it just doesn't look as nice. Okay, then make sure that your poles are shredded. This is so important, because if you want your poles to last longer, you have to buy shredded poles, and Build It Again sells it, but you can find them in many places around South Africa. And the reason is to prevent rot, basically, so that they don't rot easily. And I believe if they are treated, they are resistant to things like gophers and, like the things that eat wood, termites and all that thing. Uh, Also, on the fence, this is very important. The most important thing is to keep in mind the size of the openings, right? Because got those squares, I think you want something like 50 by 50, or less than 100 though. And the reason being that people cannot put their feet and climb on your fence. That's number one. And number two, if you have chickens and stuff like that, they are more likely to stay inside the fence. And that would be the reason why you want to make sure that those openings are very small, the smallest you can get. Okay, so number three is to find an architect. This is so important. You have to find an architect, or you can buy a plan from me, which I truly appreciate it. I'm not a qualified architect, and my plans are not approved by whoever, but at least what I request is the location, like the pin location, and I can look it up and look at the topography and ask you questions and give you a very affordable plan, which you won't find in an architect. Is going to be expensive. But if you're building a big house, I would say go with an architect. That way you don't fall, like in some of the traps that I fell into. For instance, one of the issues that I faced with my house was leaking, because actually, if I were to build that house, I would still build it that way, but I would know what to do. Like there's so many things that go into the roof when you have, like roofs that butt against the walls, for instance. Like these are things that your architect will pay attention to, and make sure that, like you don't have issues later on. But I was able to fix those issues, I hope. Fingers crossed. I'm not in the village, so I have no way of seeing exactly, like if there's a leak inside, but I made sure that all the leaks that I could find were, fixed before I left. So that's number three. Number four, once you find your architect, decide on your plan. Okay, things to keep in mind on your plan, which your architect should be able to walk you through. Sorry, I wrote some of these things down. So you want to keep in mind your views, as my advice to you would be where you spend the most time, which is your family room, which is different from your living room. In America, it is. Family room is more of a relaxed family space. A living room is more of a formal, my guests, when they come in, they sit here. And then your kitchen is normal, just like here. It's normal, connected to your family room, just like it is in my house. So you want to keep those views for yourself, in my view, because you're going to be spending most of the time in that house. So you want to make sure you keep those things in mind when you're drawing your plan. And also, which way is the sunrise, sunset. And before I did say that, you need to keep in mind that most sun is on the north side of the house. For instance, I had designed my bedroom to be on the north side of the house because I wanted it to be warm in the evening. But I ended up switching my plan because of some issues I don't want to get into in this video. But the point is that, like something like your living room, your main bedroom, if it's downstairs or upstairs, they need to be north facing, because those are the rooms you want to be warm, because those are the rooms you use the most. You see what I'm saying? Excuse me. My house, because the sunrise is the most important part and the view is in the back in my house. So my family room, my dining room where I'm going to be dining, my kitchen, all the rooms, my bedroom, all the rooms that I'm going to be using the most are oriented towards that view, which has the sunrise, which is the east. And then the sun sets on the west. But the interesting thing about the sun is that it starts in the east, and it kind of makes this, like semicircle to the west. So that means all the north side, you get a lot of sun there. So you want to keep that in mind. and that the sun's location moves as the time of the year, like goes, it moves with the time of the year. I don't want to go into the science. I happen to be watching something like watching something on Facebook that talked about that, but I already observed that in my house when I was figuring out where the sunrise is and everything. So also you want to keep in mind things like the street, where is the street, because you don't want like your house to be, number one, right on the street. I know a lot of you feel like the house has to be right on the street. No, the further back you sit your house, the better off you'll be, because if there's ever traffic, then you don't have to hear it while you're in your house. And then you need to find two professionals. One is a civil engineer, one is a structural engineer. Depending on the size of your house, you might need these things. Yes, if you're building a small house, you don't need to have those things. Even the architect is not needed if you're just building a small house. Like, let's say, I don't want to say, like, even a roundabout can be big. You see what I'm trying to say? Or 8 corner can be big, and you might be building on a slope, and in that case it would be nice to have those two people, like a civil engineer, to make sure that the land that you're sitting on, maybe they may find where the rocks are, which is like, if you can find the rock in your yard, that means you in a good location, right? And they can find those things. They can prepare the site. They can tell you which is the highest point, the lowest point, and all those things. Then a structural engineer is someone who's basically will be responsible to make sure that your house, let's say if you have a double story, the footings are the right size, the footings are spaced correctly. Basically, they help you with the superstructure of your house. So that's number 5 and number 6. So number 7 is to build yourself a shack. This is where the fun part begins. So what I would say is, build yourself, think about this. You will always need storage. Most people, including me, we build very small shack that we know once we are done, we'll tear it down and basically forget about it. But you could also just think about, okay, let me build a nice storage that will be here. I know that my house will not be located here. It will be located in this part of the yard. So I need to build maybe in a corner there in the back, a storage, a shack. So you can, depending on your budget, again, you can do something nice that's going to be long term, even when you're done. And it's actually very important to have storage while you're building, because all your materials can be in there. For the floors, you want, let's say, something that's going to be waterproof, even if it rains, and you have cement in there, like your cement won't be wet. So what I would suggest you do is you take things like, those things that they use for bringing blocks, like if you buy a pellet, for instance, those that wood structure, you want to put those on the floor, maybe put a sail on top of it. That way, if it ever rains, you don't have to worry. And also, if you put cement in that storage, you want to make sure that you put sail on top of it. That way, your cement is safe. It doesn't get wet, because once it gets wet, it's damaged. So, but yeah, you use that to store like anything, like your wheelbarrows, your shovels, if you have your own, all those things. I used mine like nobody's business, okay? And then I actually built my nice storage, which is still a shack. Maybe in the future I'll replace it with a bigger and better something, but for now it does the job, and it's very helpful because I put all my stuff in there, and that's very, very helpful. So another thing that you need to buy is a jojo tank. So this is number 8 in our starter pack. You need to buy a jojo tank. A jojo tank is so useful. You can buy water. You don't have to have borehole. But if you have the money for a borehole and you have established everything, where your house is going to be, in your lot, in your plot, where your house is going to be, where, if you're going to have like other buildings, where are they going to be located? Once you settle all of that and you have money for a borehole, you can go ahead and get one. But if you don't have the money for a borehole, jojo tanks, I use the jojo tanks throughout my building. I don't have a borehole even to this day because I'm debating whether I need it right now, and it's not a high priority because I don't live there full time. But you could also buy water, like in other words, you buy your jojo tank, buy some blocks, create a foundation for it, and you put your jojo tank, and you then order water, and then a person with a borehole will bring water. I'm sure in everyone's village there's someone who knows someone who sells water. And then or if you don't want to buy blocks to put your jojo tank, you can put it right on the ground, prepare the site, make sure that the site is level, and then dig a hole in front of the tap for the jojo tank so that people can be able to put in, like buckets and stuff like that are building. And so that's absolutely important. I would also say when you start building, having a generator is very, very helpful. So that would be like really on the things you need to buy. A generator was very helpful to me. Yes, it is a lot of work in a sense that you have to go and get petrol. You have to go and get petrol for it. And that means that, or if you are using like if you're using a builder, maybe they may have a generator, but for me it's still very helpful. I still use it. If I don't have electricity, I can turn on my generator and I use it. So it's absolutely helpful. So the last thing that I will advise you before this video goes on and on will be to make sure that you decide early on, do I want to take a contractor, which, knowing what I know now, I would advise to do it. For me, I was not in a hurry to move into my house. Yes, it would have helped me to take a contractor, but would I have had everything that I have currently in my house? I don't know if I had a contractor, unless everything was already designed and perfect. Then yeah, you give a contractor, here's the plan, this is how my ceiling I want it to be, this is where I want lights, this distance, and all those things have to be hashed out if you're going to use a contractor. How many plugs are going to be in a room, all those things. Everything needs to be hashed out if you're going to have a contractor, because you can't go back and fix. I didn't have a contractor because I just did not see, to be honest with you, the value. And everyone, again, the problem I have with contractors in South Africa, they want to just give you a spec, what they call a spec here, meaning like basically rubber stamp something that they've done. And if you want to build a custom home, so that becomes a challenge. But if your house is small and you think you can get away with finding maybe someone to manage your project, that might be another way to do it. Or you can manage it yourself and find your own people, and know that before you do that, you know exactly the steps you're going to take, because you don't want to come back and say oops. You see what I'm saying? Which for me, I did have a lot of oops, as you guys already know. But like literally, I was ignorant, and that's the person I am. I'm not afraid to go in and dive in and learn. That's just who I am. I've always been that way. I'm not afraid to dive in and learn. And so it was a very expensive learning process, but I got the house that I wanted. And that's important. But yeah, that's my advice to you. What else do you guys think a person needs to have in the beginning of their project in order to have a successful project? What do they need moving forward? What do I need? Because I still have a long way to go. I mean, it is a long way to go because I haven't finished my house. I haven't put in cabinets. I'm not done with the tiling and the baths. So all those things, I still have a gate I need to build. Still have what else? Furniture, like a lot of planning that I need to do, But I'm taking my time, and I hope, everybody stays patient and stays tuned in and shares all my videos. Thank you so much, guys. Love you all.